The space station never slept. Ships came and went at all hours. Lights blinked in endless patterns across the metal walls. People of all species walked through the busy corridors, going to work, going home, going somewhere. June held his daughter's small hand as they walked through level 14. Hannah was 7 years old, and she had been asking about the Starlight Diner for 3 weeks now. She called it the place with the glowing ceiling because she had seen it through the window once. The ceiling had tiny lights that looked like stars. Hannah loved stars. "Daddy, are we almost there?" Hannah asked. She was skipping instead of walking. Her stuffed rabbit bounced in her other arm. The rabbit's name was Bomi. It had been a gift from her mother before she died, almost June said. He was tired. Working as a mechanic on cargo ships was hard. His hands were rough from tools, and his back hurt from bending over engines all day. But when he looked down at Hannah's excited face, the tiredness felt smaller. They reached the diner. Hannah pressed her face against the glass door and looked up at the ceiling. "Daddy, look." "Stars," June smiled. "Let's go inside." The diner was not fancy. The tables were simple metal with plastic chairs. The floor was clean but old. But the ceiling was beautiful. Hundreds of tiny lights glowed in soft blue and white, arranged to look like the night sky of Earth. June had not seen the real Earth sky since he was a boy. Most humans born on stations never saw it at all. A host led them to a table by the large window. Outside, the black of space stretched forever. Distant ships moved like slow fireflies. Hannah climbed into her chair and made Bomi sit on the table so the rabbit could see the view too. "What do you want to eat?" June asked, picking up the menu screen. "Noodles. The long ones." Hannah said immediately. She always wanted noodles. June ordered black coffee for himself. He did not eat much these days. Since Mina died 3 years ago, food had lost some of its taste. But he made sure Hannah always ate well. That was what mattered. Their waitress came to the table. She was not human. Her skin was pale blue, soft like flower petals. Her eyes were large and round, glowing faintly silver in the dim light. She was thin and moved carefully, like someone walking on ice. June recognized her species, Villani. He had seen a few on the station before, though they were rare. "Good evening," she said. Her voice was quiet. "My name is Lyra. I will be serving you tonight. What can I get for you?" June noticed her hands. They were shaking. The datapad she held trembled slightly against her fingers. He looked at her face. Her large eyes kept moving to him, then away, then back again. She would not look at him directly for more than a second. Hannah did not notice. She was too busy pointing at the menu. "I want the long noodles, please." "With the red sauce? And can I have juice? The purple kind?" Lyra nodded quickly. Her fingers tapped the datapad, but she made a mistake and had to delete it. Her hands were shaking more now. "Of course. And for you, sir?" "Just black coffee," June said. He kept his voice calm and friendly. "Thank you," Lyra nodded again. Too fast, too many times. Yes, of course. I will bring that right away." She turned and walked quickly toward the kitchen. Her steps were rushed, almost like she was running away. June watched her go. Something was wrong. He had seen fear before. In his years on cargo ships, he had met many people. He knew what fear looked like. This waitress was afraid. But of what? "Daddy, look at that ship," Hannah said, pointing out the window. A large cargo vessel was passing by, its lights blinking in the dark. June looked, but his mind was still on the waitress. When Lyra returned with their drinks, he watched her carefully. Her hands still shook. She placed Hannah's juice on the table slowly, carefully, like she was afraid of making a mistake. The coffee cup rattled slightly when she set it down. "Thank you," Hannah said brightly. She picked up her juice and took a big drink. "You are welcome," Lyra said softly. She stepped back from the table quickly, as if she wanted to put distance between them. June observed something interesting. At the next table, there was a group of aliens. They had green skin and 4 arms. Korvathi traders, probably. When Lyra went to serve them, her hands did not shake. Her voice was steady. She even smiled a little when one of them made a joke, but when she returned to check on June and Hannah, the trembling started again. Her eyes kept darting to June like she expected him to do something. Something bad. It was not aliens she was afraid of. It was humans. Or maybe just him specifically. But why? Their food arrived. Lyra carried the tray with both hands, gripping it tightly to control the shaking. Hannah's noodles steamed in a big bowl. The smell was good, rich with spices. Noodles. Hannah cheered. Then she grabbed Bomi and held the stuffed rabbit up toward Lyra. This is Bomi. She's my friend. Do you want to say hi to her? The sudden movement made Lyra flinch. She stepped back sharply, her whole body tensing. The tray tilted. For a moment, June thought she would drop everything. But she caught her balance and set the food down with shaking hands. I am sorry, Lyra whispered. Her voice cracked. I did not mean to. I am sorry. It's okay, June said gently. You didn't do anything wrong. My daughter just wanted to show you her rabbit. Lyra stared at him. Her silver eyes were wide, confused. She looked at him like he had said something strange. Like kindness was a foreign language she did not understand. Bomi is nice, Hannah said, still holding up the rabbit. She doesn't bite or anything. You can pet her if you want. Lyra looked at the stuffed rabbit. Her lower lip trembled. For a moment, something crossed her face. Pain. Old, deep pain. She is very cute, Lyra managed to say. Then she turned and walked away quickly. June watched her go to the kitchen. Through the small window in the door, he could see her standing alone, her hand pressed against her chest, breathing hard. Daddy, why is the blue lady sad? Hannah asked. She was already eating her noodles, but her eyes followed Lyra with concern. I don't know, sweetheart, June said, but I think something is hurting her. They ate their meal. The noodles were good. Hannah made happy sounds with every bite. June drank his coffee and thought about the waitress. He thought about the way she flinched, the way her eyes expected pain. He had seen that look before. On refugees, on survivors, on people who had lived through terrible things. When the meal was over, Lyra brought the dessert. It was a small cake with cream on top. A free gift for young customers, the menu said. Hannah clapped her hands with joy, but as Lyra set down the cake, her hands shook so badly that she knocked over Hannah's empty juice cup. Purple drops spilled across the table. Lyra froze. Her face went pale. Her whole body became stiff. She stood there, eyes wide, not moving, not breathing. Her arms came up slightly, like she was protecting her face. She was bracing herself. She was waiting to be hit. June felt something cold in his chest. He understood now. He did not know the details, but he understood enough. It's okay, he said softly. It's just a little spill. Nothing to worry about. Lyra did not move. She stood there, trembling, waiting for punishment that would not come. And June realized that whatever had happened to this woman, the damage went deeper than he had imagined. June did not raise his voice. He did not stand up quickly. He did not make any sudden movements. Instead, he reached across the table slowly and picked up a napkin. He began to clean the small purple spill himself, wiping the table with calm, easy motions. Lyra watched him. Her arms were still raised slightly, still protecting her face, but her silver eyes followed his hands. She watched him clean the mess like she was watching something impossible, like she was watching magic. See? June said quietly. No problem. Just a little juice. It happens. Hannah grabbed another napkin from the holder. She leaned over and helped her father wipe the table. Then she looked up at Lyra and smiled. It's okay, Hannah said. Daddy spills things too sometimes. One time he spilled his whole coffee on his shirt. It was really funny. He made a silly face. June smiled a little. Thanks for reminding me, Anna giggled. Then she held the napkin up toward Lyra. Here, you can have this one. For your hands, they're shaking. Lyra stared at the napkin in the little girl's hand. She stared at it for a long time. Her lower lip began to tremble. Her large silver eyes filled with water. Tears, alien tears, but tears all the same. Lyra tried to speak, but her voice broke. She pressed a hand against her mouth. People at other tables were starting to look. A human couple nearby whispered to each other. A group of Korvathi traders pointed and muttered. June saw the attention and felt protective of the shaking waitress. She did not need an audience for her pain. Heavy footsteps came from the kitchen. The diner manager walked toward them. He was Korvathi. For arms, green skin, a face that looked permanently annoyed. His name tag said Voss. "What is happening here?" Voss demanded. He looked at the spilled juice, then at Lyra. His 4 eyes narrowed. "Lyra, again. This is the 3rd time this week. I told you, if you cannot do this job properly, I will find someone who can." Lyra seemed to shrink. She pulled her arms close to her body, making herself smaller. "I am sorry, Manager Voss. I am so sorry. It will not happen again. Please, I need this job. Please." "Sorry does not clean tables," Voss said coldly. "Sorry does not pay for wasted food. You are useless. I should have never hired—" "Excuse me." June stood up. He did not stand quickly or aggressively. He rose from his chair calmly, like he had all the time in the world. But when he stood at his full height, he was taller than the Korvathi manager. His shoulders were broad from years of mechanical work. His hands were rough and strong. He did not raise his voice. He did not make threats. But something in his calm made Voss stop talking. "There is no problem here," June said. His voice was polite, but firm, like stone wrapped in silk. "The spill was my fault. I bumped the cup with my elbow. This waitress has been excellent. Very professional. I will be leaving a large tip because of her good service." Voss blinked his 4 eyes. He looked at June, then at Lyra, then back at June. The human's face was calm, but his eyes were steady, unmoving. The eyes of someone who did not back down. "I see," Voss said slowly. He did not sound convinced, but he also did not want trouble. Humans had a reputation in the galaxy. They were friendly, yes. Kind, usually. But when they decided to fight, they did not stop. Every species knew the stories. It was better not to make a human angry. Well, Voss continued, clearing his throat. "If the customer is satisfied, then there is no problem. Lyra, clean this up and return to work." "Yes, manager," Lyra whispered. Voss gave June one more look, then walked away. His heavy footsteps faded toward the kitchen. June sat back down. Hannah was watching him with wide eyes. She had never seen her father do something like that before. He was always quiet, always gentle, but just now, he had been something else too. Something strong. "Daddy," Hannah whispered. "That was cool." June smiled a little. "Eat your cake, sweetheart." Lyra had not moved. She stood beside their table, frozen, staring at June like he was a puzzle she could not solve. "Why?" she whispered. "Why did you do that?" June looked up at her. Her silver eyes were wet. Tears had made thin lines down her blue cheeks. "'Cause he was being unfair," June said simply. "And you did nothing wrong." Lyra shook her head slowly. No, humans do not. You do not understand. I am nobody. I am nothing. Why would you help me? Why would you lie for me?" The words hit June hard. Nobody. Nothing. What had happened to this woman to make her believe such things about herself? He gestured to the empty seat across from him. "Please, sit with us." Just for a moment, Lyra looked at the seat. Then she looked toward the kitchen where Voss had disappeared. I cannot. I am working. I will get in trouble." "I will handle your manager if he comes back," June said. "Please, just for a moment." "I think you need to sit down." Lyra hesitated. Her hands twisted together nervously. She looked at the seat again. Hannah pulled Bomi close and patted the chair. "You can sit next to me. Bomi wants you to sit with us," she told me. Something in Lyra's face cracked. The walls she had built around herself, the careful control, the constant fear, it all cracked just a little. She sat down. Her body was tense. She sat on the edge of the chair, ready to jump up and run at any moment. Her hands stayed in her lap, gripping each other tightly. June did not rush her. He sipped his coffee and waited. Hannah ate her cake and smiled at Lyra between bites. "Can I ask you something?" June said finally. His voice was gentle. "Please forgive me if this is too personal, but I have been watching you all evening. You serve the other customers with no problem, but every time you come to our table, you shake. You flinch. You look at me like you expect me to hurt you." Lyra's breath caught. She looked down at her hands. "I am not angry," June continued. "I am not accusing you of anything. I just want to understand. Why are you trembling? Have I done something to frighten you?" Lyra was quiet for a long moment. The diner noise continued around them. Dishes clinked. People talked. Ships passed by the window. But at their small table, time seemed to stop. "You've done nothing wrong," Lyra whispered. "You have been kind. So kind." "That is the problem? Kindness is a problem?" Lyra looked up at him. Her silver eyes were full of pain. Old pain. Deep pain. Pain that had been there for many, many years. "Do not know how to. I cannot." She stopped. Tried again. "When I look at you, when I look at humans, I feel—" She could not finish. Her whole body was shaking now, not just her hands. Everything. Hannah put down her fork. She looked at Lyra with worried eyes. Then, without asking permission, she climbed down from her chair. She walked around the table to where Lyra sat. "You looked really sad," Hannah said softly. Lyra looked at the little girl, at her round, innocent face, at the stuffed rabbit in her arms, at the kindness in her young eyes. "My mommy died," Hannah said. "It made me really sad too. But Daddy says it's okay to be sad. He says feelings are like weather. They come and go. You just have to wait for the sun." Lyra stared at this small human child who spoke about death and feelings like they were normal things. Like sadness was not shameful. Like pain was allowed. "Would a hug help?" Hannah asked. "Hugs help me when I'm sad." Lyra did not answer. She could not answer. But when Hannah opened her small arms, Lyra leaned forward. The little girl wrapped her arms around Lyra's neck and held her tight, and Lyra began to cry. She cried quietly at first, then harder. Her thin shoulders shook with sobs. She pressed her face against Hannah's small shoulder and wept like her heart was breaking. June watched his daughter hold the crying alien woman. He did not interrupt. He did not speak. Some moments needed silence. When Lyra finally pulled back, her face was wet. She wiped her eyes with shaking hands. "I am sorry. I am so sorry. I do not know why. I should not have." "Don't apologize," June said. "You have nothing to be sorry for." Lyra looked at him. Really looked at him. And for the first time, she did not look away. "I will tell you," she said quietly. "I will tell you why I tremble. But I must warn you. The story is not a happy one." June nodded. "I'm listening." Lyra took a deep breath, and she began to speak. Lyra spoke slowly. Her voice was soft, sometimes breaking, sometimes fading to almost nothing. But she did not stop. The words came out like water from a cracked dam. Once they started, they could not be held back. "I was born in a cage," she said. "Not a real cage with bars, but a room. A small, gray room with no windows. That was my world for the first years of my life. Me, my mother, and 3 other Villani women. We slept on the floor. We ate what they gave us. We did what they told us." June listened without interrupting. Hannah had climbed back into her chair, but she was not eating anymore. She held Bomi tight and watched Lyra with big, sad eyes. "My people, the Villani, were conquered long before I was born," Lyra continued. "A group called the Drath Consortium found our world. We were peaceful. We had no weapons. We had no army. We believed that kindness was the way of the universe. We were wrong," she laughed bitterly. It was not a happy sound. The Drath took everything. Our planet, our cities, our freedom. They decided that we were perfect for slavery. We were small. We were weak. We did not fight back. For 3 generations, my people were property. We were sold and traded like animals. We were used for many things. Her hands shook harder. She pressed them flat against the table to steady them. I never knew my father. Villani slaves were not allowed to have families. My mother was allowed to keep me only because I was valuable. Young Villani could be trained from birth, trained to serve, trained to obey, trained to fear. Lyra pushed up the sleeve of her uniform. On her wrists, barely visible against her pale blue skin, were thin white lines. Scars. Old scars from old wounds. Mistakes were punished, she said quietly. A dropped plate. A wrong word. A look that lasted too long. The punishments were educational. After enough lessons, you learn to be perfect. You learn that your only value is in what you can do for your masters. You learn that you are nothing. June felt cold. He had heard stories about the Villani. Every human had. But hearing it from someone who lived it was different. The pain in her voice was real. The scars on her wrist were real. I was taught many things, Lyra continued. I was taught to cook, to clean, to serve, to stand still for hours without moving, to smile even when I was crying inside, to be invisible until I was needed, to expect pain for any failure. She pulled her sleeve back down, hiding the scars. Then, when I was 17 years old, everything changed. Her voice shifted. Something new entered it. Something complicated. Wonder, maybe. Or disbelief. We heard rumors first. The slaves whispered to each other when the masters were not listening. They said there was a species. A new species from a small planet far away. They called themselves humans. And they were angry. Lyra looked at June. Her silver eyes searched his face. The Drath Consortium laughed at humans at first. You were so young as a species. So new to space travel. Your technology was not as advanced. Your population was small. What could you possibly do against the consortium? She shook her head slowly. They did not understand. They did not understand what makes humans different from every other species in the galaxy. What is that? June asked quietly. You do not accept cruelty, Lyra said. You see suffering, and you feel it as your own. Your leaders learned about the Villani slaves. They asked the consortium to stop. The consortium refused. Said it was none of your business. Said the Villani were property, not people. Do you know what your leaders did? June knew. Every human knew. But he let her tell it. They declared war. Not for land. Not for resources. Not for power. They declared war for people they had never met. For a species that could give them nothing in return? They said that slavery was a crime against all life. They said they would not stop until every Villani was free. Lyra's voice trembled. Consortium laughed again. They thought it was a joke, a bluff. No species goes to war for strangers. No species sacrifices its own children for someone else's freedom. It made no sense. It made sense to us, June said. Yes, Lyra whispered. It did. And that is what the consortium never understood. She was quiet for a moment. Gathering herself, the hardest part of the story was coming. The war lasted 3 years. I did not see it. I only heard about it. Rumors passed between slaves. Whispers in the dark. Humans were fighting. Humans were dying. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. They were losing ships, losing soldiers. The consortium was strong, and humans paid in blood for every victory. Her hands were shaking again, but she did not try to stop them. Other species watched. They thought humans were crazy. Wasting lives for slaves? Throwing away their future for blue-skinned aliens they had never seen? It was madness. Some species even helped the consortium, thinking they would win. They were wrong. Lyra looked out the window at the stars. Her silver eyes reflected the distant lights. Humans do not give up. That is what nobody understood. When you believe something is right, you do not stop. You do not count the cost. You just keep going, keep fighting, keep dying, until it is done. The The consortium had never faced anything like it. I was in a slave compound when the war ended. Deep in consortium space, I thought I would die there. I had accepted it. Then one night I heard explosions, alarms, screaming. The masters were running. Guards were shooting at something. And then the wall of my room. It exploded inward. Her breath was coming faster now. Her eyes were distant, seeing the past. A human soldier came through the hole. He was huge, covered in armor. His face was hidden behind a helmet. He had weapons I had never seen. He looked like a monster, like death itself. She touched her chest. I was in the corner, crying, curled up like a child. I thought he would kill me. I had been told my whole life that humans were evil, savage, cruel. I believed it. When he walked toward me, I closed my eyes and waited to die. Tears ran down her blue cheeks. He knelt down. He took off his helmet, and I saw his face. He was young, so young, maybe 20 years old. He had kind eyes, tired eyes, eyes that had seen too much death but still had softness in them. Her voice broke. He spoke to me, so gently, he said. She could not continue. She covered her face with her hands and sobbed. June waited. Hannah reached across and put her small hand on Lyra's arm. Finally, Lyra looked up. Her face was wet with tears, but she needed to finish. He said, "You're safe now. No one will ever hurt you again." The words hung in the air. Simple words. Ordinary words. But for someone who had known only fear, they were everything. He picked me up, Lyra continued, her voice barely a whisper. He carried me out of that place himself, past the fires, past the bodies, past everything. He put me on a ship with other freed slaves. He smiled at me before he left. I never learned his name. I never saw him again. But I will remember his face until I die. She wiped her eyes. That was 12 years ago. The Villani are free now. We have a new home. We are rebuilding. But I came here, to a human station, because I needed to understand. I needed to know why. Why what? June asked. Why you saved us, Lyra said. Why you died for us. Why a soldier would carry a crying slave girl through a battlefield when he could have left her behind. Why humans do the things you do. She looked at him with silver eyes full of tears and confusion and something else. Something that might have been hope. But being here, around humans, I cannot stop shaking. Every time one of you is kind to me, my body expects punishment. Every time you look at me, I wait for the blow. Not because I am afraid of you, but because I cannot believe you are real. She reached out and touched June's hand. Her fingers trembled against his skin. You are so gentle, so kind. After everything I was taught, everything I believed, I do not know how to exist in a world where someone like you treats me like I matter. I tremble because your kindness feels like a miracle I do not deserve. June could not speak. His throat was tight. His eyes burned, but Hannah could speak. She climbed down from her chair again. She walked to Lyra, and she took the crying woman's hand in both of hers. You deserve it, Hannah said. Her voice was clear and certain. Everyone deserves people being nice to them. Mommy used to say that. She said the whole point of being alive is being kind to each other. Lyra looked at this small human child, at her innocent certainty, at her simple, powerful truth, and something in Lyra's heart, something that had been frozen for 17 years, began to melt. The diner was closing. The lights above dimmed to half brightness. Other customers paid their bills and left, one by one. The staff cleaned tables and put chairs up. But June, Hannah, and Lyra stayed at their table by the window. Voss, the manager, looked at them several times. He seemed annoyed, but he did not say anything. Maybe he remembered the way June had looked at him earlier. Or maybe he had some small piece of kindness in his four-armed body. Either way, he left them alone. Hannah had fallen asleep. Her head rested on June's arm, and Bomi was tucked under her chin. Her breathing was soft and even. Children could sleep anywhere. "She's beautiful," Lyra said quietly. "Your daughter, she's everything to me," June said. After her mother died, Hannah was the only reason I kept going. Some mornings, I did not want to get out of bed, but she needed breakfast. She needed me. So I got up. Lyra studied his face. "You lost your wife?" 3 years ago. Pirate attack on a civilian transport ship. Mina was visiting her family on another station. She never came back. "I am sorry." June looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, Mina's ship had been destroyed. The pirates had taken what they wanted and killed everyone else. The Terran Alliance had hunted them down later. Justice, they called it. But justice did not bring Mina home. "The strange thing about grief," June said slowly, "is that it never really goes away. People tell you time heals all wounds. That's not true. Time just teaches you how to carry the wound, how to walk with the pain instead of being crushed by it." Lyra was listening carefully. Her silver eyes never left his face. "Some nights, I still reach for her side of the bed," June continued. "Some mornings, I make 2 cups of coffee before I remember. The habits of love do not die with the person. They stay in your muscles, your bones. They wait to hurt you when you're not expecting it." "Does it get better?" Lyra asked. Her voice was small. She was not just asking about his grief. She was asking about her own. June thought about the question carefully. He owed her an honest answer. "It changes," he said finally. "The sharp pain becomes a dull ache. The constant crying becomes occasional tears. You learn to live around the empty space they left behind. You build new routines, new habits, a new life that fits the shape of who you are now instead of who you were before." He looked at Lyra directly. "But here's the important thing. The healing is not a straight line. It is not a race with a finish line. Some days you feel strong, and the next day you feel broken again. That does not mean you are failing. It just means you are human." Lyra smiled sadly. "I am not human," June said. "But pain is pain. Loss is loss. Fear is fear. Those things do not care about species. You survived something terrible. Your body remembers the danger even when your mind knows you are safe. That is not weakness. That is how survival works." The diner was almost empty now. Just them and the cleaning staff. The artificial stars above glowed softly in the silence. "I should go home," Lyra said. "My shift ended an hour ago." "Where do you live?" "Level 6. Refugee housing." June frowned. Level 6 was in the lower part of the station. It was not a dangerous area exactly, but it was not safe either. Dark corridors. Broken lights. People who did not want to be seen. "We will walk with you," he said. Lyra shook her head quickly. No, you do not have to do that. You have already done so much. Too much. I cannot ask you to, you're not asking. I'm offering." June stood up carefully, making sure not to wake Hannah. He lifted his sleeping daughter in his arms. She murmured something and snuggled closer to his chest. "It's late. The lower levels can be rough after dark. I would feel better knowing you got home safe." Lyra stared at him. That look was back in her eyes. The look of someone seeing something impossible. "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you doing this? I am a stranger. I am nobody." "I am." "Stop," June said. Not harshly, but firmly. "Stop saying that about yourself. You are not nobody. You are not nothing. You are Lyra. You are a survivor. You are a person who gets up every day and goes to work even though it terrifies you. That is not nothing. That is courage." Lyra's mouth opened, but no words came out. "I know what it's like to feel worthless," June continued. "After Mina died, I felt like a ghost. Like I was already dead and just forgot to stop moving. But Hannah needed me, so I kept going. And slowly, very slowly, I remembered that I was still a person, that I still mattered." He adjusted Hannah's weight in his arms and looked at Lyra with gentle eyes. "You matter too. I know you don't believe it yet, but you do. And I am going to walk you home because that is what people do for people who matter." Lyra could not argue. She did not have the words. She just nodded and stood up. They walked through the quiet corridors of the station. Most of the shops were closed. The crowds were gone. Their footsteps echoed in the empty spaces. Lyra walked beside June, matching his pace. "Can I tell you something?" she said after a while. "Of course. I took this job on purpose. The waitress's job at the diner, I chose it because humans come there. Why? I wanted to desensitize myself. I wanted to be around humans until I stopped being afraid. I thought if I served enough human customers, if I heard enough human voices, if I saw enough human faces, eventually my body would understand that I was safe." She looked down at her hands. They were still trembling slightly. "It has been 5 years," she said, "and I still shake. I still flinch. I still expect pain every time a human looks at me. Sometimes I think I am broken, that the fear is too deep to ever fix." June did not respond right away. They turned a corner and started down a narrow corridor. The lights here flickered occasionally. The walls were scratched with graffiti. "My grandmother survived a war," June said finally. "On Earth, she was a child when it happened. Her whole family was killed. She was the only one left." Lyra listened. She had nightmares for the rest of her life. 50 years later, she would still wake up screaming sometimes. She still flinched at loud noises. She still checked the locks on the doors 3 times before bed. "That is so sad," Lyra said. Double quotes, yes. "But here's the thing." June smiled slightly. She also got married, had children, had grandchildren. She laughed. She loved. She baked the best cookies I have ever tasted. She lived a full, beautiful life, even with the nightmares. Even with the fear, the trauma did not go away. But it did not stop her either. They reached level 6. The refugee housing was a block of simple apartments. Nothing fancy, but clean. Safe enough, Lyra stopped in front of a door. Her door. "This is it," she said. She turned to face June. Hannah was still asleep in his arms, her small face peaceful. "Thank you," Lyra said. "For walking me home, for listening, for everything. I do not know how to repay you." "Don't have to repay anything," June said. "But can I ask you something?" "Yes. Why do you want to get better? What is it you're hoping for?" Lyra thought about the question. No one had ever asked her that before. Everyone always asked about her past, about her pain. No one asked about her future. "I want to feel normal," she said slowly. "I want to have a conversation without shaking. I want to walk down a corridor without looking behind me. I want to believe that kindness is real and that I deserve it. I want to look in a mirror and see a person, not a slave." She touched her chest. "I want to be free, not just free from chains. Free inside. Free from the fear that lives in my bones." June nodded. "Those are good goals, but they feel impossible. Lots of things feel impossible until they're not." He smiled. "You know what I think? I think the fact that you're working at that diner, facing your fear every day, means you're already braver than you realize. You could have hidden. You could have avoided humans forever. Instead, you put yourself in the hardest place possible, over and over again. That's not weakness. That's strength." Lyra's eyes filled with tears again. But these were different tears. Softer, warmer. "You are a strange human," she said. "I'm just a mechanic," June said. "Nothing special about me." "You are wrong," Lyra said. "There is something very special about you. About humans. You see people who are hurting and you try to help. Even when it costs you. Even when it gives you nothing. I do not understand it. But I am grateful for it." She reached out and touched Hannah's sleeping face gently. The little girl did not wake. "Thank you for sharing her with me tonight," Lyra whispered. "She is a miracle." "She's my whole world," June said. Lyra opened her door. She stepped inside, then turned back one more time. "June." "Yes. Will I see you again?" "At the diner?" June smiled. It was a real smile. The first real smile he had worn in a long time. "Every week," he said. "Hannah loves the noodles. And I think she really likes you." Lyra smiled too. For the first time that night, her hands were still. "I would like that," she said. "I would like that very much." She closed the door. June stood there for a moment, listening to the silence. Then he turned and walked back toward the upper levels, his daughter warm against his chest. Something had changed tonight. He could feel it. Something small but important. Like a seed planted in the dark, waiting for light. He did not know what would grow from it. But for the first time in 3 years, he was curious about the future. And that, he thought, was a kind of miracle to 3 months. Passed like ships through the night. Fast in some ways. Slow in others. But different. Everything was different now. June and Hannah came to the Starlight Diner every week, just as he had promised. Always the same table by the window. Always the same order. Noodles with red sauce for Hannah, black coffee for June, and now, a cup of tea for Lyra, who sat with them whenever she could. She did not tremble anymore. At least, not when she saw them walk through the door. Her hands were steady when she took their order. Her voice was clear when she spoke. She even smiled. Real smiles that reached her silver eyes and made them glow brighter, Hannah had declared. Lyra, her space big sister, during their second visit. The name stuck. Now, Hannah made drawings for Lyra every week. Pictures of flowers and stars and 3 stick figures holding hands. Sometimes the stick figures were labeled, Daddy, Me. Lyra, the spelling was not always perfect. But the love was clear. Lyra kept every single drawing. She put them on her wall at home, covering the plain gray surface with color and joy. Her apartment was still small, still simple. But it did not feel like a cage anymore. It felt like the beginning of something. Other people at the station started to notice. The quiet Villani waitress who used to shake so much was changing. She held her head higher now. She looked people in the eyes. When customers were rude, she did not collapse. She handled it with grace and moved on. Word spread. Humans on the station went out of their way to be kind to her. One customer paid for 6 months of language classes so she could improve her reading. Another offered her a job at a better restaurant on the upper levels. A third brought her flowers just because. The kindness multiplied. It spread from person to person like ripples in water. Lyra was surprised every time. She did not understand why strangers would help her. But June helped her see. "That's what humans do," he told her one evening. "We're not good because we expect something back. We're good because being good makes us feel alive. When we help someone, we help ourselves too." "That is strange," Lyra said, "maybe. But it's also beautiful." She thought about that for a long time. One day the station announced a special event. A delegation of Villani elders was visiting. They were traveling to human settlements across the galaxy, thanking those who had fought in the war. The ceremony would be held in the main plaza. Everyone was invited. Lyra did not want to go. She had spent years trying to escape her past. She did not want to face it again. But June said he would be there, and Hannah begged her to come, and somehow she found herself standing in the crowd, watching as the Villani elders walked onto the stage. They were old. Their blue skin had faded to gray. Their once bright eyes were dim with age, but they walked with dignity, with pride. They had survived the worst things the galaxy could do to them, and they were still standing. One of the elders stepped forward. She was ancient, her face lined with wrinkles, her body bent with years. But when she spoke, her voice was strong. "We come here today to say thank you," she said. "Those words are small. They cannot hold the weight of what we feel. But we say them anyway, because they are true." She looked out at the crowd. Humans and aliens stood together, watching. "When my people were slaves, we believed the galaxy was cruel. We believed kindness was a myth told to children. We believed that no one would ever come for us, because we had nothing to offer. We were wrong." She paused. Her old eyes glistened with tears. "Humans came. They did not know us. They had never seen our faces. They had no reason to care about our suffering. but they looked at us across the stars and saw people worth saving, worth dying for. Her voice cracked. Your soldiers bled for us. Your families wept for sons and daughters who never came home. You gave everything for strangers. The Villani will never forget. Our children will never forget. 1,000 generations from now, we will still tell stories of the species that taught us the galaxy could be kind. The crowd was silent. Some humans wiped their eyes. Others stood tall, honoring the weight of her words. The elder continued, We cannot repay what you gave us. There is no repayment for freedom. But we can promise you this. The Villani will always stand with humanity. Where you go, we will follow. What you build, we will help protect. Your kindness changed us. It made us believe in goodness again. And that gift is beyond any treasure. She bowed deeply. The other elders bowed with her. The crowd applauded. Not the polite applause of ceremonies. Real applause. Loud. Full of feeling. Some people cheered. Others cried openly. June stood near the back, Hannah on his shoulders. He felt uncomfortable with the praise. He was not a soldier. He had not fought in the war. He was just a mechanic who fixed ships and raised his daughter, but then he felt a hand touch his arm. He turned and saw Lyra standing beside him. Her silver eyes were wet, but she was smiling. The elder on the stage, Lyra said. Her name is Villani, word that means starlight. She was from the same compound as me. She was freed the same night I was. I did not know she had survived. Did you want to talk to her? June asked. Lyra shook her head. Later, maybe. Right now, I want to talk to you. She took his hand. Her fingers did not shake. Do you remember the first night we met? You asked me why I trembled around humans? I told you it was because I could not believe kindness was real. June nodded. I believe it now. Lyra looked at him with eyes full of gratitude. You did not save my people in a war. You did not carry me out of a burning building. But you saved me in a different way. You and Hannah, you showed me, day after day, that kindness is not a miracle. It is a choice. A choice that humans make every time they look at someone and see a person worth caring about. Hannah leaned down from June's shoulders and patted Lyra's head. You're making a speech? Like the old lady on the stage. Lyra laughed. It was a light, free sound. The sound of someone who had learned how to be happy. Suppose I am, she said. I am not very good at speeches. You're doing great, June said. Lyra squeezed his hand. I need to tell you something. The job offer I received last month. The one at the upper-level restaurant. I turned it down. Why? It was a much better position. It's the Starlight Diner's where we met. Where my life changed. Where I learned that I matter. She smiled. I do not want to leave. Not yet. Maybe not ever. That table by the window where you and Hannah sit every week, that is my favorite place in the galaxy. I am not ready to give it up.
Ow.
June felt warmth spread through his chest. It was a feeling he had almost forgotten. Belonging. Connection. The sense that he was not alone in the universe. We're not going anywhere either, he said after the ceremony. They walked back to the diner together. It was closed for the day, but Lyra had the key. She let them in and turned on the soft lights. The artificial stars on the ceiling glowed above them. They sat at their table. The same table where it all began. Hannah was tired but happy. She rested her head on the table and closed her eyes. Bomi clutched in her arms. Lyra looked at the sleeping child, then at June. Can I ask you something? She said. Double quotes always. Do you ever think about the future? About what comes next? June considered the question. For 3 years, he had not thought about the future at all. He had been surviving, not living. Getting through each day because Hannah needed him. But now, I'm starting to, he said. For the first time in a long time, I'm curious about tomorrow. Lyra nodded slowly. Me too. For so many years, I was afraid of the future. Afraid it would be like the past. But now I wonder if it might be something different. Something good. She looked out the window at the stars. Ships passed by in the darkness. Lights blinked. Life moved on. To not have a family, she said quietly. I never had one. Not really. But lately, when I am with you and Hannah, I feel something I have never felt before. Like I belong somewhere. Like I have a place in the universe. June reached across the table and took her hand. You do have a place, he said. You have a place with us. Hannah stirred. Her eyes opened, heavy with sleep. She looked at Lyra, then at her father, then at their joined hands. Does that mean Lyra is our family now? She asked. June looked at Lyra. She looked back at him, hope and fear and longing all mixed together in her silver eyes. If she wants to be, he said. Lyra's breath caught. She stared at him, trying to find words. But there were no words big enough for what she felt. Instead, she stood up. She walked around the table. She knelt down next to Hannah and opened her arms. Hannah threw herself into the hug. She wrapped her small arms around Lyra's neck and held on tight. I wanted you to be family for so long, Hannah whispered. Bomi wanted it too. Lyra laughed and cried at the same time. She pulled back and looked at the little girl's face. Then it is decided, she said. I am your space big sister, forever. Forever, Hannah agreed. June watched them. His daughter and the alien woman who had trembled the first time they met, both of them smiling. Both of them healed. Not completely, maybe. There would still be hard days. Bad nights. Moments when the past reached out and grabbed them. But they would not face those moments alone. That was the gift they had given each other. Not perfection. Not the erasure of pain. Just the simple promise that no one had to carry their burdens by themselves. Outside the window, the universe continued. Stars burned. Ships flew. Species lived and died and were forgotten. The galaxy was vast and cold and did not care about anyone. But here, in this small diner on a busy station, something precious existed. A family built not from blood but from choice, from kindness. From the stubborn human refusal to let suffering exist without challenge, June thought about what the elder had said. That humanity taught the Villani the galaxy could be kind. But maybe it was the other way around too. Maybe meeting Lyra had taught him that his heart still worked. That he could still love. That life after loss was not just survival, but something more. He pulled Hannah and Lyra close. Let's go home, he said. And together, the three of them walked out into the stars.